Bonjour. Asinaabe wininin indigenicas mayengen ninduram mekanakaweji wing nindunjaba. That's my traditional Anishinaabe greeting. I said, hello, I'm the Rock Man. I'm in the Wolf Clan, and I'm from Turtle Mountain Reservation. That's how we introduce ourselves. Our name, our clan, and where we're from. So we got a lot of crazy stuff going on around the world today, especially in America on Turtle Island. So I wanted to talk about a few different things as far as the prophecies go, because I feel like I've been having some crazy revelations about them. As I talk about a lot in my lives, I actually learned about these prophecies at the ceremonies. I actually did the initiations into the actual society that is based on the 7thFire's prophecies. So, let's get right into it. I'm actually making this video for my Patreon people, but I'm also going to try out this new function on TikTok with paid content. So I'll have this video available to watch later. Alright, so in the 7thFire's prophecies, the first three of the prophecies are about the migration of the Ojibwe people from the East Coast through the Great Lakes region. The first prophecy talks about how we need to move when we were on the East Coast, how we needed to move, and if we don't move, we'll be destroyed. Okay? The first prophet said to the people, "In the time of the first fire, the Anishinaabe nation will rise up and follow the sacred shell of the Midewiwin Lodge." The Midewiwin Lodge is the closed society of the Anishinaabe. The Midewiwin Lodge will serve as a rallying point for the people, and its traditional ways will be the source of much strength. The sacred Migas will lead the way to the chosen ground of the Anishinaabe. You are to look for a turtle-shaped island that is linked to the purification of the earth. You will find such an island at the beginning and end of your journey. There will be 7 stopping places along the way. You will know that the chosen ground has been reached when you come to a land where the food grows on the water. Wild rice. The land of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, all around the Great Lakes region. If you do not move, you will be destroyed. Okay? So this is part of the reason why I feel like these prophecies are called fires. Because you got to imagine this prophecy came to the people about 400 years before Columbus landed. So life would have been good for the Anishinaabe all along the East Coast. Nature was abundant, society was beautiful, there was spirits and healing and ceremonies and much health and abundance to the people. And then all of a sudden this prophet comes, says this shit, and everybody at the ceremony would have heard this, and then the medicine people would have started bringing it around and telling everybody, and they would have said, hey, there's this prophecy now saying that we need to move from this place or we will be destroyed. Now you got to imagine some of the people wouldn't believe it. You know what I mean? Some of the people would kind of believe it. Some of the people took it so seriously that they started gathering groups and moving to find these next stopping places spoken of in the prophecies, okay? And now we know that the ones who did stay behind were destroyed, okay? So the second and third fire pertain to the Anishinaabe Ojibwe people and how they made their way through the Great Lakes region and came to the place where the food grows on the water, okay? I don't want to focus on that for this video. I want to focus on the fourth fire, okay? The fourth fire was originally given to the people by two prophets. They came as one. Maybe it was a two-spirit person, okay? They told of the coming of the light-skinned race. Is it okay if I say light skin? I don't think that's racist. I almost think that that's the most accurate description. It's not about the color. It's about the way the light, right? It's not like light as in light versus dark. It's in light as in like light in the day versus the dark at night. You know what I mean? Anyway, the first prophet said, "You will know the future of our people by what face the light-skinned race wears. They will come wearing the face of brotherhood." Wait a second. "You will know the future of our people by what the face the light-skinned race wears. If they come wearing the face of brotherhood, then there will come a time of wonderful change for generations to come. They will bring new knowledge and articles that can be joined with the knowledge of this country. In this way, two nations will join to make a mighty nation. This new nation will be joined by two more, so that the four will form the mightiest nation of all." Now, what I think that is the white nation and the red nation join, and then they're joined by the yellow nation and the black nation to make the mightiest nation of all, right? The representation of the medicine wheel with the four peoples. This new nation will be joined by two more, so that the four will make the mightiest nation of all. You will know the face of brotherhood if the light-skinned race comes carrying no weapons, if they come bearing only their knowledge and a handshake. Okay? The other prophet said, "Beware if the light-skinned race comes wearing the face of death. You must be careful because the face of brotherhood and the face of death look very much alike." If they come carrying a weapon, beware. If they come in suffering, they could fool you. Their hearts may be filled with the greed for the riches of this land. If they are indeed your brothers, let them prove it. Do not accept them in total trust. You shall know that the face they wear is one of death. If the rivers run with poison and the fish become unfit to eat, you shall know them by these many things. And this was in our meeting, okay? We had this prophecy before we even knew y'all were coming here. So we knew that there was going to be possibility of two different kinds. So when we're talking about history and we're talking about these things, and the only thing that you want to say is, "Oh, it wasn't me. I'm not like that. Oh, me. Yeah, we know that there's two different kinds. There's ones that only think about themselves, and then there's the ones who are here to join and learn and live in the spirit of brotherhood." So it's written as if it's one or the other, okay? That's the thing. And if we look in history, we can tell that actually both of those things happened, especially with the Ojibwe people who has this prophecy. The Ojibwe people met the French at first, and the French were allies. They just wanted to trade, and they brought new things and new knowledge, and they came wearing only a smile and a handshake, and they got along so well, they created their own people in society called the Métis people, okay? But then the other ones came after that. The ones who were coming and suffering and had greed in their hearts for the riches of this land. Okay? The fifth prophet said, "In the time of the fifth fire, there will come a time of great struggle that will grip the lives of all native people. At the waning of this fire, there will come among the people one who holds a promise of great joy and salvation. If the people accept this promise of a new way and abandon the old teachings, then the struggle of the fifth fire will be with the people for many generations. The promise that comes will prove to be a false promise. All those who accept this promise will cause the near destruction of the people." And if you ask me, that's talking about the boarding schools, and the one with the false promise was Jesus and their promise of salvation and how they brainwashed all of our kids. And a lot of our people today are Christian as a result. And in my opinion, that is the greatest hurdle and barrier for indigenous people in their own communities being able to practice the old ways, is natives who are assimilated into Christianity, who live within the reservations and took their children. In the time of the sixth fire, it will be evident that the promise of the fifth fire came in a false way. Those deceived by this promise will take their children away from the teachings of the elders. Grandsons and granddaughters will turn against the elders. In this way, the elders will lose their reason for living. They will lose their purpose in life. At this time, a new sickness will come among the people. The balance of many people will be disturbed. The cup of life will almost be spilled. The cup of life will almost become the cup of grief. Okay? And I think that we can tell that there was a false promise if we look at the condition of the reservation. If there was any merit to that belief structure, you would think an entire people who were forcefully converted to that belief structure would be living in happy, healthy communities in this day, right? Have you ever been to a reservation? The Mishomis book. This book was written by Edward Benton Benet, who was a head of the Meday Society, and he passed away in the winter of 2020. And I knew him. And I'm in this society. This book was the first time they made the 7thFire's prophecy public. This copyright on this book was 1989. 1988. So that's why I think that the fifth fire had to do with boarding schools, because a lot of other elders think that it has to do with the treaty, or it has to do with technology, or it has to do with, like living in houses. You know what I mean? But I don't think it has to do with any of that. I think that technology can coexist as long as you follow natural law. And that's why I think the false promise was the belief structure that they brought with them, the black book and the cross. And that's what caused the almost spill of the cup of life. Okay? So that leads us to the next part here. The next part is the seventh fire. And I believe, as an initiated warrior of the 7thFire's prophecy, I believe that the time of the seventh fire officially started on June 21st, on the summer solstice of 2020. There was a full solar eclipse. It wasn't visible on this side of the world, but it happened. And then on December 21st, 2020, the winter solstice, there was a full lunar eclipse. And so I think that we officially entered the time of the seventh fire at that time. The seventh prophet that came to the people long ago was said to be different from the other prophets. He was young and had a strange light in his eyes. He said, "In the time of the seventh fire, new people will emerge. They will retrace their steps to find what was left by the trail. Their steps will take them to the elders. But many of the elders will have fallen asleep. They will awaken to this new time with nothing to offer. Some of the elders will be silent out of fear. Some of the elders will be silent because no one will ask anything of them. The new people will have to be careful in how they approach the elders. The task of the new people will not be easy." So at a ceremony, I asked him who these new people were, the chief of the warrior society. I gave him tobacco on maybe like the second day of the ceremony, and he took my tobacco and he said he'll ask them. Okay. The next day, or maybe the next day, came back and he told me. He said, "I have an answer for your question." He said the new people are the ones who are not afraid of what their parents and grandparents are afraid of. And they can be from any walk of life. Okay, I wanted to know, was it just native people? Is it like mixed people? Is it like specifically the light-skinned race? Like, who are these new people? And that was the answer that we got at the ceremony when we asked that question. The new people are the ones who are not afraid of what their parents and grandparents are afraid of. And if you look at what was going on in the summer of 2020 with all the protests, there was a whole bunch of young people out there doing things that their parents and grandparents were too afraid to do. Okay? And that was a big indication to me, because I actually had a vision. I went through these ceremonies back in 2009 to 2012. And in my first one, on the last day, after I finished my first Sundance, I gave this joke of a prophecy. I was just feeling so good to be done. I thought I was going to die. And when you're done and you have your first drink of water after 4 days after a Sundance, you truly understand. You truly understand how beautiful water is. You truly understand that water is life then. And I was feeling so great. And I said, in 10 years from this very day, there will be a large gathering of people in the streets, huge crowds from all different walks of life. I said there will be a solar eclipse and this will mark the turning of the age. And it was something along those lines. And I was standing in the middle of the arbor and I was just kind of being silly, okay? But it was actually 11 years later, okay? I did this on 2009, and then in 2020, that day, it was, Sundance takes place on the solstice, so it was the 2009, June 21st, that I said that, and then 2020, June 21st, everyone was gathered in the streets, and there was a solar eclipse that day. So I'm going to take a little break here. I'm going to hop off here because I need to save this video at this time so that it actually saves on my live. They haven't been saving right. And I'm going to be back in 10 minutes, okay? Come back in 10 minutes.